What's happening, everybody? On today's show, On3 Sports releases their SEC Power Rankings heading into 2023. We'll run through those. Auburn flips a big-time recruit from Georgia, and more of our interviews from SEC Media Days as we catch up with the SEC Network's Jordan Rodgers and Dari Nowkhah. Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. All right, we got plenty to jump into. Let's do it. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Interception. Takes the handoff. What a catch.
Around the conference.
And we start with some recruiting news as Demarcus Riddick, a five-star linebacker who had committed to Georgia back in November, officially flipped to Auburn on Wednesday. 6'2", 212 pounds, the number 3 linebacker in this upcoming recruiting class of 2024. He's a number 3 player in the state of Alabama. And a lot of folks thought that, maybe Alabama was still in play here. But Riddick said, quote, "At Georgia, I was feeling at home, and I felt like that was my family. But this Auburn family is something different. This is where I want to be for the next 3 or 4 years. It feels like home there. Bama, I love the school, love the coaches there. I have a great relationship with the coaches, but it just didn't feel like home." So Auburn is where he feels like home, and a big-time get for Hugh Freeze and company in Demarcus Riddick. He had offers from tons of schools like Arkansas, Florida State, was recruited by Glenn Schumann at Georgia, and now he is headed to the plains of Auburn. So congrats to Hugh Freeze and company getting a big-time recruit there. But look, it's no sweat off Georgia's back. They already have the number 1 rated recruiting class, and they'll just continue to add to it. But according to 24/7 Sports, Riddick has visited Auburn 4 times since the start of this year, slated to attend Auburn's Big Cat Weekend event this coming weekend. In other recruiting news, Cai Bates, a cornerback out of the Orlando area, 6 foot tall, 180 pounds, he announced his commitment on Wednesday to LSU. He had a ton of offers. A lot of people thought maybe Tennessee was going to be where he would land. Visited Tennessee, Florida State, Alabama, and LSU last month, and he officially picked the Tigers. He is the number 11 player in the class of 2024, the number 15 player in the state of Florida, was recruited to LSU by Robert Steeples. It's the second highest rated recruit in LSU's class, as they have 20 commitments so far. He did say LSU, being known for producing first-round picks, will stick for a long time being called DBU. So Cai Bates heading to LSU. By the way, this is a big recruiting weekend with a ton of schools hosting recruiting events for guys to come in starting, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Monday, we're going to have a pretty big recruiting recap because I expect a lot of commitments coming in over the weekend. We'll recap all that for you right here on Locked On SEC. All right, in other news, Shane Beamer talked with the media on Wednesday and talked about how his program has really grown in just 2 years. He said, 2 years ago, we were picked to finish just above Vanderbilt at the bottom of the SEC East. He said one national member said the 2021 team had a ceiling of 2 wins. And now here they are, just announced earlier this week. College Game Day will be on site for the start of their game of North Carolina versus South Carolina to kick off the season. Shane Beamer said, look, makes a great statement about the progress we made and some of the things that we've accomplished. We're certainly proud of that, but we also know we're nowhere near being where we're going to go. And that's a lot more than we can do in this program, and going to continue to do that and build as we move forward. One roster note for South Carolina, their freshman Cameron Sandlin is going to begin his college career in the running back room. That is according to running back coach Montario Hardesty. Talking with some folks on Wednesday, he said that Cameron Sandlin is going to play running back. He played quarterback in high school, was listed as a tight end in South Carolina's media guide, but Hardesty confirmed rumblings that Sandlin would be moving to the backfield. 6'3", 214 pounds, is a 3-star signee from the state of Alabama. He will be the biggest scholarship player at running back for South Carolina. Hardesty said he's a big athlete. He was a running quarterback. Think he can play multiple positions on offense, from H-back to tight end to running back. He's a natural runner. So we're going to start him in the running back room, and we will go from there. So something to keep an eye on there. Cameron Sandlin at South Carolina. See what he does in that backfield. Meanwhile, over at Florida, Billy Napier getting another addition in former East Los Angeles College edge rusher Quincy Ivory. Committed to Florida during an official visit last month, but had to wait to finish up his associate's degree over the summer to join the team. And with all that worked out, he's now in Gainesville and getting to work with the team. He's got 3 years of eligibility remaining. He's got a lot of catching up to do, having missed all the last few months workouts and all that. But last season, he had 22 tackles, 12.5 tackles for a loss, and 8.5 sacks for East Los Angeles College. So Quincy Ivory, a name to keep an eye on there as an edge rusher for the Florida Gators. All right, over at On3 Sports, they put out yesterday their 2023 SEC preseason power rankings. This is coming from our buddy Jesse Simonton from On3 Sports. We actually taped an interview with him at SEC Media Days. We'll have that for you one day next week. But he put out his power rankings. Coming in at number 1, no surprise, the Georgia Bulldogs, going for their three-peat. Number 2, he has Alabama. He said, in a bit of a surprise, Alabama was the media's pick to win the SEC West this year. And while the collective we did not provide Nick Saban the tasty rat poison he desires, it's clear this Tide team is fueled by the notion that the program could be slipping. And after signing the best recruiting class in modern history, the Crimson Tide have more former 4- and 5-star recruits on their roster than any team in America. If they can figure out that quarterback thing, and Alabama absolutely could find itself back in the SEC championship. Outside of that, they've got LSU at number 3, just behind Alabama. Tennessee at number 4. That's most people. It seems like the consensus has been, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Tennessee. Most people think that, those are the 4 best teams in the SEC this year. Then he's got Texas A&M at 5, Arkansas at 6, Ole Miss at 7. So a run on the SEC West teams there following Tennessee. And then we get to Kentucky at 8, South Carolina at 9, Auburn at 10, Mississippi State 11, Florida 12, Mizzou 13, and Vanderbilt 14. I'll just tell you guys right now, it feels like after those first 4, you could really convince me from 5 all the way till probably Auburn at 10. A&M, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Kentucky, South Carolina, and Auburn. You could sell me that any one of those teams is going 8-4. You could sell me that any one of those teams is going 6-6. It's just kind of a jumbled mess, and we'll see what they do. Is A&M a 6-6 team or an 8-4 team? Arkansas get to 8 wins this year? Sure. But could things not go well and they go 6-6? Sure. It's just it's one of those things, man. We're going to find out. Look at the schedules and try to find some wins there. But no offense to Vanderbilt, but I think we all agree they're at the bottom. And then it kind of is Missouri or Florida. Who do you think is maybe in worse shape? Not program-wise, but just like with their schedules and how things could play out this year. And I keep going back on that Auburn, Mississippi State thing. I just look at – I get Hugh Freeze at Auburn, bring in Peyton Thorne. They've done a good job in the transfer portal. But Mississippi State's got a ton of talent still on that roster. It's hard. I keep looking at that roster and going, how do I put Auburn ahead of Mississippi State? Now, maybe Auburn's got a slightly easier schedule than Mississippi State. I guess you could make a case for that. But it's still going to play Georgia and Alabama. So, anyway, there you have it. That is the latest news going on around the conference, and that's the preseason power rankings from Jesse Simonton over at On3 Sports. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, our conversation from SEC Media Days with Jordan Rodgers from the SEC Network. That's coming your way next. But first, I want to remind you guys this episode is presented to you by our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. If you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available, you have to go check out our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helping you find the right people for your team faster and for free. You just go to their website, you post your job posting, you add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile. That'll spread the word that you're hiring. And then they got simple tools like screening questions that are going to make it easy for you to focus on the candidates with the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you want to interview and hire. It's all about finding the right team member. And look, they're going to have the positive and measurable impact on your business by using LinkedIn Jobs. That's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires against leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs, helping you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Go post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. It's right there below us. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Right along here with our buddy Jordan Rodgers from the SEC Network. Always good to see you, man. And we're on your turf here at SEC
Love
Media
it.
Days.
About time. I mean, I like Hoover, you know what I mean? But it's about time we got this in Nash Vegas, baby.
Does it bring back any memories being here on Broadway? Maybe some late nights back in the day?
It does. I'll say what, though. I have been the guy that everyone's been asking, hey, where should I go to eat? You know, what should I do at night? I'm like, hey, I was here in 2012. Nashville, I don't know if you noticed, is a little different than it was a decade ago. So when I was here, there wasn't a single rooftop downtown. So Sunday nights, we had like a light practice Sunday after a Saturday game. Mondays were off. So Sunday nights was kind of our Broadway night. We'd go down to the stage, but it was different. There wasn't rooftops. There wasn't the crazy amount of people there. We were still busy, but it's good to be back. I always love Nashville.
Last year, we talked about both of us, our Rome vacations and all we did out there. Did you have any good off-season trips this off-season?
So speaking of that Italy vacation, my wife was so inspired that she decided to start an Italian-inspired spritz company. So we've been traveling all over the place because she's coming out with a spritz brand. It's called Saint Spritz. So Italy was a great inspiration for us. We haven't traveled as much this summer, which has been nice.
Okay.
Kind of staying low key, and we live in Puerto Rico, though, so it's hard to beat the island weather every day anyway.
Yeah, that's not bad. We just did 10 days in Scotland and Ireland.
Oh,
and,
that's one place I want to go.
like the Cliffs of Moher. I think it was about 100-mile-per-hour gusts. Like
I'm a big fan of The Princess Bride, so that's I do want to go to the Cliffs of Moher.
We saw the castle where they filmed that, Game of Thrones,
very cool.
Monty Python, all that stuff.
Awesome.
So very, very cool stuff, but very different from the weather here.
I bet, yeah.
I walked out the plane here and just started sweating.
I was waiting for an Uber last night, and I was drenched. It's like I've been outside for 2 minutes. What is going on?
All right, let's jump into it. I know we still have over a month to go. Where are we on the Alabama quarterback spot? Is this weird? I can't think of the last 10 years that we've been in the spot with Alabama and a Nick Saban team where we don't know who the quarterback is at this point in the year.
Yeah, it's been since 2015 maybe when Jake Coker transferred in. I mean, we kind of knew it was going to be him, but we really haven't had these type of questions. I did the spring game, so I left the spring game being more impressed than I thought I would with the depth and the talent at receiver. And in talking to Tommy Rees, everyone's like, well, are they going to get back to 2 tight ends, smash mouth football, back to running the ball? Yeah, I think there's elements of the tight end that Tommy believes in the run game, so I think we will see that. But I left the interview with Tommy being more inclined, and he even kind of alluded to, I'm more inclined to go 5 wide with the amount of talent we have. So I left the spring game thinking Ty Simpson's the guy, because what this offense needs is a point guard right now. And Bryce was a point guard, but he was also Steph Curry. Right. You know, he can make every throw, the deep shots and everything. So they don't need a Bryce. They won't run an offense that needs a Bryce, but they need a distributor. And they need the guy that's going to be the most consistent doing that, which is why once they, I think, left spring and realized we're leaning more towards Ty, and again, these are my opinions, we need to bring in another guy that can run that system, because Milroe is incredibly gifted, but it's a different type of offense you need to run with him. Yeah. And also, he'll make the wow throws, but he'll make the throws that make you go wow in a bad way as well. And I think that's what Saban really struggles with Milroe. So I think it's Buckner and Simpson. I don't think we're going to know, even week 1, who the full-time starter is going to be. I think Ty starts the season, but I was more impressed than I thought I'd be in Buckner's film.
Yeah.
Better ability than I thought to change his arm angle and some of the RPO stuff. Doesn't have a big arm. Is not killing you downfield, but he's consistent. And with the talent they have, they just need somebody to be a game manager. As much as that's a taboo, negative thing in this day and age, it's not. And it shouldn't be with Alabama. They're stacked at running back, stacked at wide receiver, talented with what they added at tight end and CJ Dippre and what they have in like an Amari Niblack, who's incredibly talented. Robbie Utes is a guy that's going to get in there and block for you. So they have the pieces around the quarterback. They need a guy to not mess it up.
What about at Ole Miss? It feels like it's Jackson Dart, but doesn't it feel weird to look at Spencer Sanders and go, why did you come here?
Totally.
That's weird.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of good things about Jackson. And I think what happened last year that led to some of the inconsistencies is he was still growing as a quarterback. And one of his biggest weapons was him running the football and his physicality. And so as a quarterback, when you're sticking your face in there and you're running for tough yards and you're banging your head, it's tough to then switch gears and play in the pocket and be consistent and do that part of the quarterback, the game that you need to do and be consistent at. So I think his development this offseason will pay huge dividends in his accuracy and consistency, pushing the ball downfield. I think was the biggest issue, right? We're so used to Matt Corral bombs away and being on the money so often in those big shots downfield. And Jackson was a little hit or miss in that. I think the competition is going to be huge for him in developing. I've been a guy that I competed there was not a single year in my entire career, high school, junior college, Vandy, where I wasn't in a competition. I was never the guy. So that raises your focus. That raises your level of play. So I do think it's going to be Jackson. Spencer's extremely talented, and he's a great option if Jackson hasn't taken the steps he needs to. But I still think that offense is poised to be pretty dangerous.
Biggest threat to Georgia in the East, if there is one. And you can say there isn't one.
No, I think it's Tennessee, and I think it's legitimate. Joe Milton is by and far the most talented, physically gifted player I've ever been around. Now, I've said this before, but having a strong arm is not a prerequisite to play the quarterback position, right? But it sure is nice. It's a nice perk to have. That offense is set up for him to excel. And yes, they lost Jalen Hyatt, but they had Dante Thornton from Oregon, who I kept asking the guys this spring because I did that spring game too. I was like, does he have the juice that Hyatt did? Right? Can he stretch the field? And they go, oh yeah, every bit of it. So they lose their best receiver, but they add a guy that can fit that mold, and they bring everybody else back. Now, there's a lot of pressure on Joe Milton, and it's a low margin for error offense because they push the ball downfield quite a bit. But with Georgia losing the physical corner in Keely Ringo, that was really one of the bugaboos last year for Tennessee, pressing at the line of scrimmage. If they can kind of fix a little bit of that, they're going to be a big threat. They're better on defense. They're deeper on defense, but Georgia's they're still my pick. They're still the dogs to beat, but Tennessee's going to have a shot.
How much of a threat is LSU? Is LSU, should they be the favorite in the West right now with the questions?
So. Yeah, with everything they're bringing back in Jaden's development, bring everybody back on offense. They got arguably the best player in the SEC on defense as well, so in Harold Perkins. So I think they're going to be tough to beat. Again, the question mark in the West is how quickly does the quarterback position evolve for Alabama? Because what they lost is significant on defense, but Caleb Downs and Earl Little in the secondary Kevin Steele was raving about those guys. They're going to be superstars, even though they're true freshmen. So Alabama's only going to get better as the year goes on. How quickly can they get better in the secondary, in the back end with the youth, and at the quarterback position?
Yeah, and that game against LSU is in November. Bama
they got a while, huh?
They may have the quarterback thing figured out by then. He is Jordan Rodgers, SEC Network. Always good to catch up with you, man. Thanks for the time.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks. Rolling along here from SEC Media Days, and always fun to catch up with Dari Nowkhah, of course, of the SEC Network, and baseball player, apparently. I heard you were swinging him pretty straight at the ballpark yesterday. I saw the video.
Yeah.
You look like, and look, I'm not calling you short.
I'm short.
I'm not that short.
Yeah.
You look like Altuve in the box.
Oh,
just
good.
Liner after liner, base hit.
Yep. I did not have a microphone on my chest. Okay, that's the only Astro shot I'm going to take. All right, that's the only Astro shot.
There was no. You could have said Cole Kubelik was banging a trash can. You could have said that.
Could have. Yes, I will avoid the Astro talk. No, it was really, really fun. Little challenge that CD and I had, and the Nashville sounds were just unbelievable to us yesterday. And I was relieved to put a few in play at what we believe is 95 miles an hour. Have I ever hit 95?
No. Well, like at a AAA park. Had you ever done that before?
No, I had not. No, it was a really good time. They were great. But It was a pitching machine. We knew where it was going. It was all a matter of timing. I had a couple of bad looking swings and misses, and then we started hitting a little bit on swing 3. So felt good. Felt good. CD did not have the same kind of success.
Yeah, he for being this stud worldly athlete, he's not good at baseball.
Yeah, I mean, look at him and look at me. You know, this is the thing. Is it shocked people. The little dude that never played any semblance of collegiate sports or beyond out hit him. But, you know, that's why I love baseball. It's a game for the little guys.
There you go.
We can do well.
The Altuve's can have success.
That's right. That's right.
You got to be excited. I know you've probably been asked this a million times, but Oklahoma coming in, you know, not every day you get your alma mater gets to come to the conference you cover, but
it's awesome.
That's got to be cool.
Yeah, I'm still living on cloud 9 on that. I mean, you know, when the announcement was, you know, when the talk started, I got excited. When, you know, the Chronicle or whatever broke the news, I got excited. I mean, the conversations I'm getting to have about them coming to the league, I'm thrilled. You know, my friends, my family in Oklahoma, they can't wait to watch the network on a regular basis and to see, you know, a Sooner getting to talk about Oklahoma. I'm beyond thrilled, and I can't wait. I can't wait for July 1st of 24 when they're an official member.
Yeah, because it's like everybody's got some kind of allegiance. Like Roman's the Alabama guy, Doring's Florida, Peter Burns just like a de facto LSU fan. And it's like everybody kind of has their allegiance, and you've been the outside guy like, all right, can we put the Big 12 game on this quarter?
Yeah, we've always in our studio too. It's funny you mentioned that. I mean, we've got 8 TVs in the studio. So we've got all the SEC games are on, and then there's always an OU TV, and they all know that. Like there's always going to be an OU TV. That game is always going to be on, and now they get to be part of the SEC. Now there's nobody's going to argue because they're part of the league. We all do have our allegiances, you know, and we'll call each other out on them and have a lot of fun. I think it's got to be done the right way, obviously. But it's funny over the years. I mean, think about the number of big games Oklahoma's played against SEC teams 3 years in a row in a playoff, and they got hammered in all 3. Well, not hammered by Georgia, but they lost all 3.
Yeah.
So we've had experience with you know, Dari's team going up against an SEC team, and Dari's team always loses. So hopefully over time now, my team can start to win a little bit.
You mentioned being in the studio. Take us through a normal Saturday in the fall, because I think you're like a lot of us fans. Like you're sitting there watching a lot of games. You know, these other guys, they're all on the road and in the booth and on the field and doing all this. You get to watch the games. It's a lot of work. But take us, like, what's a normal Saturday like for you?
They're the 14 or 15 best days of my work year. I mean, it's there's not a question about it. I mean, I'm getting to sit in there with my, you know, some of my best friends, and we've got 8 games on, and we're sitting literally. I mean, we're occasionally we'll do TV, and when we're not actually doing TV, we're sitting right in that studio watching games and commenting on games and reacting. Oh, come on. Wait, what TV you watching? You know, and it's like, you know, it's you got to watch the replay on, you know, LSU or whatever it may be. But it's great because we're just having conversations, and those conversations, when it comes time for the shows, they'll come back up, you know, and I kind of know what this guy couldn't believe happened. And I know what this guy said was the reason that Team X beat Team Y. And so just absorbing all that information from those guys who know it all so much better than I do, it helps us so much as the day goes on. And then we have our end of the night, you know, SEC final.
Give me a good story. Was there ever an incident of just things going chaotic, haywire back in the
The best things are when Doring is watching Florida, because he will just explode if something goes wrong, or frankly, if something goes right. It's more often now that it doesn't go right, but you know, or watching him when a receiver drops a pass. Yeah, it's unacceptable to him that a receiver drops the pass. So we may just be sitting and there's kind of like maybe not much going on, and all of a sudden, or I'm writing something on the computer, and all of a sudden you hear, "Oh, catch the football," you know, and he stands up and he's like, "Nobody can catch the ball," you know. So nothing's really gone haywire on the air that much, but if you're not paying attention, like, or starting to doze off a little bit, Doring will scare the heck out of you with some of his receiver reactions.
Yeah. I think it's so funny when I think of you. I think of you always on the desk, you know, on SEC Network and all this. But I also always think of you when I wake up in the middle of the night and a game's being replayed and it cuts to Dari. Due to time restraints, we fast forward in the action or whatever the liner is. Yeah. But it always seems to be you doing that liner.
Yeah, it's me. It's me. It's me. It's funny. I remember, you know, when we started the network, and I don't think I've taped one of those for 2 or 3 years. I mean, it's just the same. But there'll be people that be like, God, you're working all the time. No, I'm not at work at 3:50 in the morning, moving the LSU Auburn game ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not live.
That's too
It's
funny.
the same one it's been playing for 3 years.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. I love talking NBA with you, and
Sure.
for years, we had the Rockets, and we had stolen James Harden from your Oklahoma City Thunder, and we were riding high. And now we've both kind of been through the hectic years, and the Thunder are on the way up now. What's going on?
For them to make the play-in last year was, well ahead of schedule, especially without Chet, all season long. And now, I mean, that group and that core, and if he stays healthy, we've gotten to look the last 2 summer leagues of what he can bring that team. I absolutely think it's a playoff team. I'm excited about Case and Wallace as well. I mean, getting him in the draft. No, I think when you look at SGA and Josh Giddey, who I love, combined with Lou Dort, his ability to defend, Chet on both ends of the floor, I love this team. I mean, I think people in Oklahoma are really excited about it. The building's going to be packed, I think, every night, and I think a playoff spot is the natural progression for them.
All right, let me ask you an SEC question, actual SEC football question, since that's why we're here. What's the biggest storyline to you? Is it can Georgia three-peat? Is it the Alabama quarterback thing? What's the biggest storyline to you?
Well, I mean, you're in Houston, and this would have been my answer anyway. It's Jimbo and Bobby. It's those two working together, and how it ultimately happens. I don't think we learned a lot yesterday with Jimbo at the podium, but no, I think it's those two. It's those two alpha males, how they work together, who ultimately is calling plays when it's all said and done. Can Jimbo really release the reins and give it to Bobby? I think that's my most interesting story here for sure. Yeah.
And the more people question it, the more I think, watch it work. Watch this actually and
it might it might very well work. And I would expect it to work.
Yeah.
But I do think it's going to be a fun, at times dramatic story to take hold of,
There he is, batting leadoff out of the University of Oklahoma. Dari Nowkhah.
I like the sound of that.
Appreciate the time, man. Always good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thanks.
All right, man. We'll be back right after this. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On SEC. Thank you guys so much for making us your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Keep checking us out. We'll have a Friday edition tomorrow, bringing some more of our great interviews from SEC Media Days. Our thanks again today to Jordan Rodgers and Dari Nowkhah. Hope you guys enjoyed those interviews, getting a little insight into behind the scenes at the SEC Network and a little insight into the 2023 SEC football season. I'm Chris Gordy. This has been Locked On SEC. Remember to subscribe and keep checking us out, and shout out to our everydayers for coming back every day. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow right here on Locked On SEC.